The first bell rang loudly, echoing through the long school hallways. Students rushed to their classes, laughing, talking, and shouting. Among the noise, a quiet girl walked alone. Her name was Emma. She wore simple clothes, a plain blue sweater and old jeans. Her backpack was small and worn out. She kept her head down, hoping no one would notice her. But people noticed. Whispers started as she passed. "Who's the new girl? She looks weird. Maybe she's from the countryside or something." Emma heard them, but she didn't react. She kept walking toward her classroom with slow, careful steps. Her heart beat fast inside her chest, but her face stayed calm. She was used to this. Every time she moved to a new town, it was the same. In Class 9B, the students were already sitting and chatting when Emma entered. She stood at the door, feeling every pair of eyes staring at her. The teacher, Mrs. Brown, smiled warmly. "Class, we have a new student today," Mrs. Brown said. "Please welcome Emma." A few students clapped half-heartedly. Some just stared. Emma gave a small nod and walked to an empty seat at the back. She placed her bag on the floor and sat down quietly. From the front row, 3 students watched her closely. Jake, Lily, and Max. They were the popular kids. Everyone either wanted to be like them or stay out of their way. Jake leaned over and whispered to Lily, "She looks like a lost puppy." Lily giggled. Max smirked. The day went on. Emma didn't talk to anyone. She listened carefully during lessons, wrote notes neatly, and kept to herself. During lunch break, she sat alone under a tree in the schoolyard, eating a simple sandwich. Jake, Lily, and Max noticed her sitting alone. They decided it would be funny to mess with her. "Let's welcome the new girl our way," Jake said with a wicked grin. They walked over to Emma's tree, pretending to be friendly. Emma looked up, surprised. "Hey," Jake said with a big fake smile. "New here, right?" Emma nodded politely. "Yes." "Cool," Max said. "You should sit with us." "Come on." Emma hesitated. Something about their smiles didn't feel right. But she didn't want to seem rude. She stood up and followed them to a crowded lunch table. They made her sit in the center. Everyone at the table watched her like she was a strange animal. Emma tried to smile and stay calm. Then it happened. While Emma was looking down at her food, Jake quickly poured a packet of salt into her drink. Lily switched her sandwich with one filled with hot pepper paste. Max placed a fake bug on her shoulder. When Emma reached for her drink and took a sip, her face twisted a little from the salty taste. When she bit into her sandwich, the hot pepper burned her mouth. People around her started laughing loudly. Emma froze. She felt the heat in her mouth, the awful taste in her drink, and the laughter all around. Her face turned red, not from embarrassment, but from the spicy pain. Tears filled her eyes. Everyone expected her to cry. They'd wanted her to run away, to be the sad little new girl. But Emma didn't move. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and then she smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, calm one, like she knew something they didn't. The laughter slowed down. Some students frowned. Why wasn't she crying? Why wasn't she angry? Emma calmly stood up, brushed the fake bug off her shoulder without even flinching, and picked up her bag. She looked around at all the laughing faces, and for a second, her eyes met Jake's. There was no fear in her eyes, only quiet strength. Without a word, she walked away, leaving everyone confused. Jake, Lily, and Max looked at each other, feeling a strange discomfort in their stomachs. They had seen many kids cry after being bullied. But Emma, she just smiled, and it scared them a little. As Emma disappeared around the corner of the building, a few students kept watching, their smiles fading. They didn't know it yet, but Emma wasn't someone who would break easily. She was stronger than they could ever imagine. Something told them deep inside, this new girl was different, very different, and they were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The next morning, Emma walked into the school building with the same calm face. She wore the same simple clothes and carried the same small backpack. She knew what was coming. It always came. Jake, Lily, and Max had not forgotten what happened yesterday. They had laughed when Emma walked away, but deep down, they were bothered. Her smile. It had stayed in their minds longer than they wanted. And now, they wanted revenge. Real revenge. They wanted to break the new girl. In the hallway, as Emma walked to her locker, she found sticky notes all over it. Ugly words were written on them. Loser. Go back where you came from. Weird girl. Other students walked by and laughed. Some stopped to take pictures with their phones. Emma stood there for a moment, reading the notes. Her heart hurt, but her face stayed calm. Slowly, she peeled off the notes one by one, placed them neatly into the trash, and opened her locker like nothing had happened. Jake and his friends, watching from a corner, frowned. Why isn't she crying? Max whispered. Maybe she will after today's plan, Lily said with a smirk. In the classroom, it didn't get any better. Mrs. Brown announced, "Today we will have a surprise quiz." The students groaned loudly. No one liked pop quizzes, especially not Jake, Lily, and Max. They were terrible at tests. They were used to copying answers or distracting the teacher. Emma simply picked up her pencil and began writing calmly. Jake, sitting beside her, tried to peek at her paper. Lily dropped her pen loudly to distract Emma. Max whispered rude words from behind her, but Emma stayed focused, her hand moving smoothly across the paper. In just 20 minutes, she put down her pencil and quietly handed her paper to Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown looked at Emma's paper and raised her eyebrows. For a moment, she seemed surprised, impressed even, but she said nothing and placed the paper on her desk. Jake noticed. He gritted his teeth. She thinks she's smarter than us now. The bullies didn't stop. During gym class, they accidentally threw the ball too hard at Emma's head. In the library, they knocked her books off the table when no one was watching. At lunch, they whispered loud enough for her to hear. She probably lives in a trash can. I bet she eats worms for breakfast. The worst part, other students joined in. Some students who were too scared to stand against Jake and his friends started laughing too. Emma was alone. But every time, Emma stayed calm. She picked up her books. She wiped off the spilled food. She never shouted. She never cried. Instead, she smiled. A small, secret smile. A smile that said, "I know something you don't." It made Jake, Lily, and Max furious. They wanted her broken. They wanted her to beg them to stop. One afternoon, they decided to take it even further. In the middle of the cafeteria, while everyone was eating, Jake stood up on a table and shouted, "Hey everyone, let's give a big welcome to the weirdest girl in the school, Emma." Everyone turned to look. Some students giggled. Some whispered. Some just stared. Emma, sitting alone at her table, looked up. Her face was calm as ever. Lily and Max threw pieces of bread toward her. A few hit her shoulder. Some students followed and threw napkins and empty paper cups. A small crowd formed. It was the worst public humiliation. Jake expected Emma to run out crying. He expected her to scream or yell. But Emma slowly stood up, brushed the breadcrumbs off her sweater, and looked straight at Jake. Their eyes met across the noisy cafeteria. For a long second, it was just the two of them. Emma's face was calm, her eyes sharp and steady. She did not shout. She did not run. She did something none of them expected. She smiled. A pure, fearless smile. Then she calmly walked to the trash can, threw away the trash thrown at her, picked up her tray, and left the cafeteria with her head held high. The cafeteria became very quiet. Some students lowered their heads, feeling guilty. Some whispered, "Wow, she's not normal. She's strong." Jake stood frozen on the table, his mouth slightly open. He had won so many times before, making others cry, making others feel small. But today, he felt something strange inside, something that tasted a lot like fear. Max muttered, "Dude, I don't think this is working." Lily crossed her arms and said coldly, "Whatever, we'll find a better way." As Emma disappeared around the corner once again, she whispered to herself quietly, "They can try. They won't win." Emma wasn't just surviving. She was planning. And soon, the whole school would learn who Emma really was. The real battle hadn't even started yet. The next day started like any other. Students filled the hallways, lockers slammed, and laughter echoed from the corners. Emma walked through the crowds, invisible to most, ignored by many, but always watched closely by Jake, Lily, and Max. They still felt the sting from yesterday. Emma's calmness had made them feel powerless, and they hated that feeling. But today, something new was about to happen, something that would change everything. During the morning assembly, the principal, Mr. Harris, walked onto the stage. He tapped the microphone, making a loud thump that made everyone look up. "Good morning, students," Mr. Harris said with a wide smile. "I have exciting news. Next Friday, we will hold our annual school talent show." The gym filled with loud chatter. Students leaned toward each other, whispering. "The talent show is open to everyone," Mr. Harris continued. "You can sing, dance, perform magic tricks, play an instrument, or show any special skill you have. It's your time to shine." The crowd buzzed with excitement. "And remember," Mr. Harris said, raising his finger, "there's a big prize this year, a brand new tablet, and a feature in the school newspaper." The students cheered. A tablet. That was a huge prize. Jake leaned back in his chair and grinned at Lily and Max. "This is perfect," he whispered. "We can enter. We'll be the stars. No one will even remember that stupid new girl." Max laughed. "Yeah, she'll just sit there clapping for us." But while everyone was getting excited, Emma sat quietly in her chair, her hands folded on her lap, her face thoughtful. A small idea was growing inside her mind. A tiny, glowing idea that made her heart beat a little faster. Mrs. Brown, standing at the side of the gym, noticed Emma's face. She smiled slightly, as if she knew something nobody else did. As the assembly ended, sign-up sheets were placed on the wall near the cafeteria. Students rushed toward them, pushing and laughing, writing their names under different categories. Jake and his friends quickly signed up for a comedy skit. They thought it would be easy to make people laugh at their jokes, and maybe even mock Emma one more time in front of everyone. "We'll crush it," Jake said confidently. "No one can beat us," Lily added. Meanwhile, Emma quietly walked to the sign-up sheet after the crowd had thinned. She read all the names carefully. There were singers, dancers, jugglers, magicians. Emma picked up the pen. For a second, her hand hovered over the paper. Then, with a small smile, she wrote her name under the category. Music, piano performance. No one noticed. No one cared. At least not yet. During lunch, the rumors started. "Did you see? The new girl signed up for the talent show. Piano. Theft. Who cares about that? She's going to embarrass herself so bad." Jake, Lily, and Max heard the whispers and laughed loudly. "This is going to be hilarious," Jake said, slamming his tray down. "She thinks playing some stupid piano song is going to impress anyone. We should make our skit about her." Lily said, "Dress Max up as Emma and make fun of her being a weirdo." Max agreed without hesitation. It sounded perfect. They would win. They would humiliate Emma once and for all. Across the cafeteria, Emma sat alone again, eating quietly. She heard the whispers. She saw the mocking glances, but her fingers tapped lightly on the table, tapping out a rhythm only she could hear. A soft, powerful rhythm. She wasn't scared. She was ready. The rest of the week passed quickly. Every afternoon after school, students practiced their acts in the gym. The place was alive with laughter, music, and shouting. Jake, Lily, and Max rehearsed their skit, laughing harder each time they made the fake Emma fall or cry during the act. Other students practiced singing pop songs, juggling balls, or doing clumsy dance moves. And Emma, she didn't stay in the gym. She asked Mrs. Brown if she could use the old music room. The music room was dusty, forgotten, and had an old, slightly broken piano sitting in the corner. But when Emma touched the keys, something magical happened. Soft, beautiful notes filled the room. The piano, dead for so long, came alive under her fingers. Emma practiced alone, every day, her hands flying over the keys, playing melodies so pure and powerful that even the empty chairs seemed to listen. Mrs. Brown often stood silently outside the door, a proud smile on her face. The night before the talent show, Jake, Lily, and Max celebrated early. "She's going to be a joke," Jake said, tossing popcorn into his mouth. "Tomorrow, everyone will be laughing at her," Lily added. "And we'll be the heroes." Max cheered. They were sure. Tomorrow, Emma would finally break. Finally lose. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know what Emma was really preparing. And when the curtains opened on the talent show stage, they, and the whole school, would see a side of Emma that no one had ever expected. A side that would change everything. Forever. Finally, the night of the talent show arrived. The whole school was buzzing with excitement. The gym was decorated with bright lights, colorful banners, and balloons. Rows of chairs were set up for parents, teachers, and students. The stage had long, heavy curtains hiding the surprises waiting behind them. Backstage, students rushed around nervously, checking their costumes and practicing one last time. Jake, Lily, and Max were full of energy, laughing loudly as they prepared for their comedy skit. "This is going to be the best night ever," Jake said, adjusting his silly wig. "Everyone's going to love us," Max added, grinning. "And that new girl," Lily said, rolling her eyes. "She won't even be able to touch a key. She'll freeze on stage." They all laughed. Meanwhile, Emma sat alone on a wooden bench in a quiet corner. She held her hands together tightly, her fingers cold and shaking a little. Her heart beat faster than ever before. But she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She remembered the sound of the piano, the feeling of her fingers dancing over the keys. The music was inside her. It always had been. Mrs. Brown came to her side and smiled kindly. "You'll do just fine, Emma," she said softly. "Just play from your heart." Emma nodded. She was ready. The talent show started with loud cheers and clapping. Mr. Harris stepped onto the stage, his face shining with pride. "Welcome, everyone," he said into the microphone. "Tonight, you'll see the amazing talents of our wonderful students. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show." The first act was a group of dancers. They jumped and twirled across the stage, their colorful costumes flashing under the lights. The audience clapped and cheered loudly. Next, a boy performed magic tricks, pulling coins from behind people's ears and making scarves disappear. Everyone laughed and clapped. One by one, different acts came and went. Some were good. Some were funny. Some made people cheer wildly. But Emma waited quietly backstage, listening, feeling the nervous energy in the air. Finally, it was Jake, Lily, and Max's turn. They strutted onto the stage wearing crazy costumes. Max dressed like Emma, wearing a messy wig and old clothes. The audience laughed as soon as they saw him. Jake grabbed the microphone. "Hey everyone," he shouted. "We're here to show you what not to do at the talent show." Lily and Jake acted like proud students showing off, while Max, playing Emma, tripped over his own feet, dropped fake books, and stumbled around like a fool. The crowd laughed loudly. Some kids pointed and clapped. Jake and Lily whispered fake encouragements to Max, only to laugh even harder when he fell again. Their skit was all about making fun of being different, being quiet, being weird, like Emma. From backstage, Emma could hear it all. The laughter, the jokes. She felt a tight knot in her chest. For a moment, it hurt so much she thought she couldn't breathe. But then something changed. The hurt inside her slowly turned into something stronger. Not anger, not sadness. It was something pure, something bright. It was courage. Emma stood up straight. She didn't need to hide. She didn't need to run. She would show them. When Jake, Lily, and Max finished, they bowed deeply, grinning ear to ear. The crowd clapped and whistled loudly. Backstage, the announcer called out, "And now, please welcome Emma Wilson, piano performance." For a second, there was silence, a small silence that felt huge. Emma walked calmly onto the stage. The lights were hot on her face. The gym looked enormous. She could see the faces of every student, every parent, every teacher, all looking at her. Some smiled kindly. Some looked bored. Some smirked, waiting for her to fail. Jake, Lily, and Max sat in the front row, whispering and laughing. Emma sat down at the piano. The black and white keys shined under the stage lights. She placed her fingers on the keys and closed her eyes. The whole gym was silent. Then she began to play. At first, the sound was soft, gentle, like a whisper. The notes floated into the air, delicate and sweet. People leaned forward in their seats. Then the music grew stronger, faster, more powerful. Emma's fingers moved with incredible speed and grace. It was not just playing. It was like telling a story without words. Sadness, hope, strength, victory. It was all in the music. The audience sat frozen, mouths open, eyes wide. Even Jake, Lily, and Max stopped whispering. They stared at the stage, stunned. The sound filled every corner of the gym. It wrapped around every person, making them feel things they didn't even have words for. Some parents had tears in their eyes. Teachers exchanged amazed looks. Mrs. Brown stood in the back, smiling proudly. Emma played like the piano was alive, like it was part of her. And when she finished, the final note hung in the air for a long, beautiful second. Then the gym exploded in applause. The clapping was loud, real, full of excitement and respect. People stood up, giving her a standing ovation. Emma stood up, bowed quietly, and smiled. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. She felt powerful. Back in the front row, Jake, Lily, and Max sat frozen, their faces pale. Their plan had failed. They hadn't humiliated Emma. They had only shown how small and mean they were compared to her. And the night wasn't even over yet, because Emma's real victory had just begun. When Emma walked off the stage, her heart was still racing. The sound of the clapping still echoed in her ears. She couldn't believe it. She had done it. Students backstage stared at her with wide eyes. Some whispered to each other. Some smiled shyly. A few even clapped for her again as she passed by. Mrs. Brown rushed to her side and gave her a quick, warm hug. "You were amazing," she said, her voice full of pride. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth inside her she hadn't felt in a long time. Meanwhile, in the audience, Jake, Lily, and Max sat stiffly. They didn't laugh anymore. They didn't even look at each other. They had thought Emma would embarrass herself. Instead, she had become the star of the night. After a few more performances, the talent show ended. Everyone gathered in the gym, talking and laughing. Parents congratulated the students. Teachers smiled proudly. Emma stood quietly near the wall, not sure what to do next. Then something surprising happened. A girl from her class, Mia, walked up to her. "Hey," Maya said, smiling. "You were really, really good. I didn't know you could play like that." Emma blinked, surprised. "Thank you," she said softly. Soon, A few more students came over. "That was beautiful," said Ben, one of the soccer players. "I wish I could play like that," said Jenna, a girl from the art club. One by one, students who had barely noticed Emma before now wanted to talk to her, congratulate her, be near her. Emma felt a little shy, but happy. She realized she didn't have to change herself to fit in. She just had to be true to who she was. From a corner, Jake, Lily, and Max watched everything happen. Jake's hands were shoved deep in his pockets. His face was red with anger and embarrassment. "I can't believe this," Lily muttered. "She's the one everyone's talking about now." Max looked down at his shoes, not saying a word. For once, they weren't the center of attention. Their cruel jokes hadn't made them look clever. They had made them look small and ugly. And the worst part, everyone knew it. As Emma talked with new friends, Mr. Harris came onto the stage with a microphone. "Before we end tonight," he said, smiling at the crowd, "we have a special award to give." Everyone grew quiet. "This award," he continued, "is for someone who showed true courage, incredible talent, and inspired us all tonight." He held up a shiny golden trophy. "The award goes to Emma Wilson." The gym exploded with cheers. Emma froze for a second, not believing her ears. Mia nudged her. "Go," she whispered, grinning. Emma walked slowly to the stage. Her hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear, it was joy. Mr. Harris handed her the trophy, smiling warmly. "You deserve this, Emma," he said. She took the trophy, feeling its weight in her hands. It felt real. It felt like proof that she was not invisible anymore. The applause filled the room again, louder and stronger than before. As Emma stood on the stage, holding the trophy, she looked out over the crowd. For the first time, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel like she needed to hide. She belonged. That night, as students left the gym, many of them came up to her to talk, to laugh, to ask her about her music. Mia invited her to sit with her at lunch the next day. Ben asked if she could teach him a little piano sometime. Emma's world had changed. She wasn't just the new girl anymore. She was Emma, strong, brave, and talented. Jake, Lily, and Max left the gym quietly, their heads low. Nobody cheered for them. Nobody laughed at their jokes. They had learned a lesson that night too, but not the one they expected. It was a lesson they would never forget. And Emma. She walked home under the stars, smiling. For the first time in a long, long time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The next morning, Emma woke up early. Sunlight poured into her room, soft and golden. Her trophy sat on her desk, catching the light and making tiny rainbows on the walls. For a moment, Emma just stared at it. It felt like a dream, but it was real. She had faced her biggest fear, and she had won. Downstairs, her mom was making pancakes. "Good morning, superstar," her mom said with a wide smile. Emma blushed. "Good morning, Mom." Her mom placed a plate full of pancakes in front of her. "They're special today. Victory pancakes," she said, laughing. Emma laughed too. It felt good, easy and free. After breakfast, Emma packed her backpack carefully. She even added the small music notebook she usually kept hidden. Today, she wanted people to know who she was. When she reached school, things were different right away. Students in the hallway smiled at her. Some waved. Some even said, "Hey, Emma," as she passed. Emma couldn't stop smiling. It felt like a heavy door had finally opened. And behind that door was a world she hadn't dared to hope for. At her locker, Mia was waiting. "Hey," Maya said brightly. "Come sit with us at lunch today." Emma hesitated for just a second. Old fears whispered in her mind. What if it was a trick? What if they changed their minds? But when Emma looked into Mia's eyes, she didn't see mockery. She saw kindness. Emma smiled. "I'd love to," she said. As they walked together to class, Jake, Lily, and Max stood near the lockers, watching. Their faces were tight and sour. Lily leaned toward Jake and whispered, "Can you believe this? She's acting like she's popular now." Jake scowled. He still couldn't understand how it had happened. In his mind, Emma was supposed to be invisible, small, weak, an easy target. Not someone who could stand in the spotlight and shine. But no matter how much they whispered, it didn't matter anymore. Emma had something they couldn't take away. Confidence, real friends, respect. During class, something else surprising happened. Mr. Harris announced a new project, a group presentation about dreams and goals. "We'll let the students form their own groups," he said. Before Emma could panic, Mia turned to her immediately. "Emma, join us." Ben and Jenna nodded too. Emma nodded, feeling a warmth spread in her chest. Across the room, Jake, Lily, and Max sat together. But this time, not because everyone wanted to be with them. It was because they had no one else. As the day went on, Emma found herself smiling more, laughing more. She answered questions in class. She helped Mia with math. She even played a little tune on her pencil during break, making Mia and Ben laugh. It felt like she had unlocked a part of herself that had been hidden away, a part full of music, light, and strength. But life wasn't perfect. In gym class, Jake accidentally bumped into her during soccer. She stumbled but didn't fall. Instead, she looked Jake straight in the eyes. Jake opened his mouth like he was about to say something cruel. But then something strange happened. He stopped. He looked away. Maybe he realized his old tricks didn't work anymore. Maybe he knew that Emma was stronger now, not because she was bigger or louder, but because she believed in herself. After school, Emma and her new friends sat on the grass near the playground, laughing and talking. The sun was low, casting long shadows. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass. "I'm so glad you joined us," Maya said. "You're awesome, Emma." Emma smiled, feeling her heart lift. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was surviving school. She was living it. As the sky turned orange and pink, Mia pulled out her phone. "Hey," she said, grinning. "We should start a music club." Ben's eyes lit up. "Yes, Emma, you could teach us." Emma laughed, a real, joyful laugh. "Sure," she said. "That sounds amazing." That night, Emma sat by her window, looking at the stars. She thought about everything: the fear, the talent show, the trophy, the friends she had made. And she realized something important. The world would always have people like Jake, Lily, and Max. People who tried to tear others down. But it would also have people like Mia, Ben, and Jenna. People who lifted others up. And most importantly, Emma knew now that the most powerful voice wasn't the loudest one in the room. It was the quiet voice inside her, the one that said, "You can do this." And she had listened. Emma smiled, hugging her pillow close. Tomorrow was a new day, a new beginning. And this time, she wasn't afraid. She was ready. Ready to dream. Ready to live. Ready to shine. Weeks passed, but the feeling of change did not fade. Every morning, Emma walked into school a little taller, a little stronger. Students smiled at her in the halls. Teachers called on her in class with encouragement in their voices. It felt like Emma had finally found her place. But deep inside, Emma knew something important. Her real victory wasn't the trophy she had won. It wasn't the cheers from the crowd. It wasn't even the friends she had made. Her real victory was something bigger. It was the way she felt about herself now. For the first time in her life, Emma believed she mattered. Still, not everything was easy. One rainy afternoon, Emma sat in the school library, working on homework. Mia and Ben sat with her, their heads close together, whispering and giggling about something funny. Suddenly, Emma felt a shadow fall over their table. She looked up, and there stood Jake. He wasn't smirking. He wasn't laughing. He just looked awkward. "Hey, Jake said, scratching the back of his neck. Mia and Ben froze. Emma put her pencil down slowly. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice calm. Jake shifted uncomfortably. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." The words fell heavy between them. Emma blinked, surprised. She had imagined many things Jake might say to her, but never an apology. Jake shuffled his feet. "I was wrong," he said, staring at the floor. "You didn't deserve how we treated you." Mia crossed her arms. Ben narrowed his eyes. But Emma just sat quietly, thinking. She could feel the anger inside her, the memory of all those cruel words, the times they had laughed at her, pushed her aside, made her feel invisible. She could also feel something else, something lighter. Forgiveness. Not because Jake deserved it, but because Emma deserved peace. She didn't want to carry the weight of hate anymore. "It's okay," Emma said softly. Jake looked up, surprised. Emma gave a small smile. "I hope you find your way too." Jake nodded awkwardly and left, disappearing between the shelves of books. Mia leaned over. "Are you serious? You just let him off that easy?" Emma shrugged. "He has to live with what he did. I don't." Ben smiled a little. "That's pretty awesome." Emma smiled back. It felt like another heavy stone had been lifted from her chest. The rain outside kept falling, tapping softly against the windows. But inside Emma's heart, it was like the sun was shining. The next big event at school was the spring festival. There would be games, music, and another talent show. But this time, in the open air, with parents and teachers watching. When the sign-up sheet went up, Emma's name was one of the first. But she wasn't signing up alone. Mia, Ben, Jenna, and a few others had formed a real music club, and Emma was their leader. They practiced every afternoon after school, sometimes outside under the big oak tree, sometimes in the empty gym when it rained. Their sound wasn't perfect. There were mistakes, missed notes, lots of laughter. But it was theirs. They even wrote an original song together, about finding your voice, standing tall, and believing in yourself. When the day of the festival came, Emma felt nervous again. She stood behind the stage, her guitar in her hands. She could hear the chatter of the crowd, parents, students, teachers, all waiting. Her palms were sweaty. Her heart raced. But then Maya squeezed her hand. "You've got this," Mia whispered. Emma nodded. She stepped onto the stage. The world seemed to slow down. She saw her mom and dad in the crowd, waving proudly. She saw Mr. Harris giving her a thumbs up. She even spotted Jake standing with a few other students, watching quietly. Emma took a deep breath. She strummed the first chord. The music filled the air, soft and strong. Her friends joined in, drums, keyboard, voices weaving together in harmony. And then Emma sang. Her voice wasn't perfect. It shook a little at first, but with every note, it grew steadier, stronger. She sang about fear. She sang about hope. She sang about finding her place in the world. The crowd listened, silent at first, then swaying with the music. When the song ended, there was a heartbeat of silence, and then an explosion of applause. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Not because of the clapping, not because of the cheers, but because she knew, deep down, that she had done something brave, something real. She had shared her true self with the world, and the world hadn't crushed her. It had embraced her. After the performance, students and parents crowded around. "You were amazing. That song was beautiful. You're so talented." Emma smiled, laughing through her tears. She saw Jake approach again, but this time he didn't speak. He just clapped, a small, genuine smile on his face. And that was enough. That night, Emma sat by her window again, guitar resting beside her. The stars above sparkled, bright and endless. She thought about everything she had gone through. The pain, the fear, the triumph, the forgiveness. It hadn't been easy. It had been messy, scary, and sometimes lonely. But she had made it. She had faced the bullies. She had found her voice. She had chosen kindness without losing her strength. And now, she knew something even more powerful. Life would always have challenges. There would always be people who tried to bring others down. But there would also always be music. There would always be light. There would always be the chance to begin again. Emma picked up her guitar and strummed a soft melody. A song for tomorrow. A song for hope. A song for the girl who had once been afraid, and who now knew she could be anything she dreamed. The true victory was not in beating the bullies. It was in becoming herself. And that was a victory no one could ever take away. After the spring festival, everything changed for Emma, but in ways she had never expected. It wasn't about being famous or popular. It wasn't about winning more trophies or hearing more claps. It was about something quieter, something deeper. Emma had finally found her place in the world. In the days that followed, she kept practicing music with her new friends. Their small club grew bigger. More students wanted to join. Some had been bullied before. Some were shy and scared, just like Emma had once been. And Emma welcomed them all. She knew how much it hurt to feel alone. She knew how a small act of kindness could save someone's whole day, even their whole life. She wanted to be that kindness now. One afternoon, Emma and Mia sat under the big oak tree, strumming guitars. The sun was warm. The grass was soft. Laughter filled the air as Ben tried, and failed, to teach a younger boy how to play the drums. Mia leaned back and looked at the sky. "Crazy, huh?" Maya said. "A few months ago, no one even knew you. Now, you're kind of a legend." Emma laughed softly. "I don't feel like a legend," she said. "You are," Maya said firmly. "You didn't just fight back. You showed us how to be better." Emma smiled, but inside she still felt a little shy. She wasn't sure she deserved such big words. She had just been trying to survive. But maybe surviving with kindness was a kind of victory too. Maybe changing even one heart, even her own, was enough. Later that evening, as the sky turned orange and purple, Emma walked home alone. She passed the old sidewalk where Jake and his group had once bullied her. Now the sidewalk felt just like any other place, not scary anymore. Just a piece of the past. Emma thought about Jake. Since the festival, he had been different. Quiet, respectful. He didn't try to become her friend. And Emma was glad for that. Some things didn't need to be forced. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It just meant moving forward without hate. And Emma was ready to move forward. When she got home, her mom was waiting by the door with a big smile. "You got a letter," her mom said, handing it to her. Emma frowned. A letter. It wasn't her birthday. She wasn't expecting anything. She opened it carefully. Inside was a small, neat card. "Congratulations, Emma. You've been selected for the City Youth Music Program. We believe your voice can inspire many. We would love for you to join our team." Tears sprang to Emma's eyes. She had never even thought about something like this. Traveling to different schools, sharing music with other kids, helping others find their voice, just like she had found hers. It felt too big, too beautiful, but it was real. She looked up at her mom, who was wiping her own tears. "You earned it," her mom whispered. Emma hugged her tightly. For a long time, they just stood there, wrapped in warmth and pride and love. That night, Emma sat by her window again, guitar in her lap. She looked out at the stars. Somewhere, far away, there were kids just like her, scared, lonely, unsure if they could ever belong. Emma wanted to find them. She wanted to sing for them. She wanted to show them what she had learned. That even the smallest voice could change the world. That even a broken heart could find music again. That even when people tried to tear you down, you could rise. And when you rose, you could lift others too. She strummed a soft tune, a song she was still writing in her heart. It didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be true. At school, life continued. Classes, homework, friends, laughter. But now, Emma walked with a quiet strength. She wasn't afraid of the bullies anymore. She wasn't afraid of failing. She wasn't even afraid of standing alone. Because she knew she wasn't alone anymore. She had her music. She had her friends. She had herself. And that was enough. Sometimes, students she didn't even know came up to her. "Hey, you're Emma, right? The one from the talent show. Your song helped me. Thank you." Emma always smiled and said, "You're welcome," even when her cheeks turned pink. Because she understood now, when you show the world your true self, even when it's scary, you give others permission to do the same. And that was the biggest lesson of all. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the world gold, Emma and her friends gathered under the oak tree again. This time, there were more guitars, more drums, more voices. A whole new group of kids had joined them. Some shy, some laughing, some still learning. Emma sat in the center, strumming gently. She looked around at all the new faces. She felt a deep, glowing happiness. Not because she had become famous, not because she had beaten her bullies, but because she had built something beautiful out of her pain. She had turned it into music, into hope, into a beginning. Emma closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her, and in that moment, with the golden light around her and the sound of laughter and songs filling the air, she knew. This was just the start of her story. The world was big. The road ahead was wide. And Emma, once the scared new girl, once the lonely outsider, was ready to walk it. Head held high, heart full of song, and a spirit that no one could ever break again.